So welcome to the Goodish Girls, guys. My name is Dallas.
I'm Madison.
And today we have the wonderful Miss Antoinette with us. You guys may or may not know her face from social media. She goes rampant on the Maasverse. Some really awesome, wild theories on her social medias. So she's hanging out with us today. We are going to let her run wild and free in our house of theories and lore today. So she's going to hang out with us through our guided tour of Crescent City. As you guys know, we do the first half of our episode spoiler free, again, a guided tour. But after that, we go into the House of Theories and Lore, where we talk all things spoilers across the entire Maasverse, all 3 series. So welcome to our show. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm ready to hear all of your thoughts. I'm so excited.
Good. I'm ready to rant.
Yes, we're ready. I'm waiting for this. So we are going to cover chapters 63 through 68 today. So if you've read through chapter 68, you are safe with us. Again, spoiler free for the first half. If not, make sure to go back and read those chapters, and that way you can know all of the things. So quick recap on chapter 62 from our last week's episode. Hunt recently got his wings removed because of punishment from Micah because of Sabine and Amelie. So this is kind of what's happening after the math. So chapter 63, Lahaba is super upset that Hunt is injured. Obviously, she's very caring. She loves Hunt. She calls him Athy. So she is really, really upset. Bryce attempted to take the day off and Jessica refused, which I thought was super rude. So mental health is not important to Jessica. She's like, actually, no, you need to be at work. So she has to stay there. So Rune is going to take care of Hunt and help him like rebandage and things like that. So he mentions that the sight of Hunt's wings even made Rune gag. And I would like to know your thoughts on this because is Rune a big baby? Or is the injury really that bad? Or like, what do we think?
So I actually think that this might be a clue into Bryce's character development a little bit more. I think that we're seeing a very strong female moment. You know, when stuff hits the fan, women typically are able to really step up and cast aside all of their like ick about things. You know, like we see this a lot with, wartime nurses. You know, like they amputate legs and then just go make dinner. You know what I mean? And I think that we're witnessing Bryce in that sort of mode. And I actually think that it's a very powerful thing because you see the men in the room cowering with, weak stomachs. And it's actually Bryce who's like cool with it,
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. She's like, it's just an injury for someone that I care about. Like,
right.
No big deal. And Rune's like, oh, I can't. But I mean, he's pushing himself to do it. He does stay and he does help. So he just doesn't like it, which is fair. And I totally get that. Rune also mentions that Micah went easy on Hunt because Sabine could have called for his death, but instead they only took his wings. So I felt like that was kind of a reminder because we also are reminded that Hunt is still a slave and he has no rights, which I think is really sad. And I think that Sarah lets us forget that is a thing and then reminds us, right, where we get comfortable with Hunt and who he is. Like he gets to watch TV and he gets to go out and he gets to walk around and hang out with Bryce and live with Bryce, right? But then she's like, actually, just remember that he owns nothing. Just remember that he is literally Micah's slave.
Yeah, it's very depressing.
I
also think because of Hunt's power, like even though, like, could they kill him? Yes, but I feel like because of his power and because it is so rare, I don't think anyone would ever like do anything. I think that they would just like say it as like a threat, but I feel like he's too valuable. Like he's like a little treasure. I don't think anyone would want to like end that,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a fair statement, right? Like, I mean, his lightning power is super rare. And I can also see where Rune is like panicking. Like they could have done this. Like this, it was within Micah's rights, I guess, as an archangel to call for his death. It was in Sabine's rights, right, to call for his death. Like they could have asked for that. But you're probably not wrong that he is more important to them alive than dead. More useful to them, I guess. Maybe not important. So
He is
Still,
important.
he is important, yes. So Rune is also upset that he is not the one who stopped Amelie, and instead of Hunt, right? So it's Rune is now trying to be a big brother to step up to the plate, and he's like, I should have been the one who was there. I should have been the one taking care of all these things. But would he have even had a chance? Is my question. Did he even know what was happening, right? Because they had such a big falling out that she's not going to text Rune, I guess, and be like, Amelie said this to me. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on Rune and Bryce and that relationship and again, even if he would have had a chance to stop Amelie, or would he have if he heard it?
Just in general, I actually feel bad for Rune. Time and time again throughout the series, I'm not giving spoilers, I just feel bad for Rune. And I think that in terms of, their relationship, so the relationship between Rune and Bryce, I don't know if Rune really had a chance early on to have a good relationship with Bryce. And again, this might be a spoiler, but I'll just leave it at this. I actually blame Bryce's mom a lot for the weird tension that they have in their relationship. And just in general, the fact that Rune is so much older than her. There's a lot there. And I think that him trying means that he's a good person. Even the fact that he doesn't want to take care of Hunt, and he still does. He is a good person. Even when his stomach's squeamish, he does what is the morally good thing. I feel bad for Rune because I think he really tries.
I agree. I agree that he does try, and it sucks that he has to live under his father's thumb, who is inherently not a good person, right? Not a good fae. So I feel like Rune is set up for failure quite often.
Yeah.
Which is a big bummer. Poor guy. Poor guy. Poor Prince.
Poor Rune. Poor handsome, striking Rune.
Yeah, poor Prince of the Belbaran fae.
Yeah.
Sad. So that's it. He has champagne problems. So since Bryce was not able to take the day off of work, she is at work, but she is actually trying to hack into Redner Industries. And this goes way back to one of our previous episodes. Bryce dated the guy who his dad owns Redner Industries. So again, that guy that she dated was not important. I told you guys that way long ago. You don't have to remember him, but just know that she did do that. And so she's trying to hack into Redner Industries through Danica's email and password. And she finally figured out how to get in. And she knew that Danica had more information in there. And there has to be something in that account for her to see, right? So but as she's trying to get in, she tries everything. She tried multiple languages for the password. She tried birthdays. She tried Sabine sucks. She tried all these things as the password, but nothing worked. And then on the final try, she typed in the common language, through love, all is possible, and was in. So I feel like that was a good full circle moment for that one line that we keep coming back to. All these files popped up as she was into the email, with one that stood out only to Bryce: party invites. Danica was not inviting people to parties via email. That was not Danica's jam. So she's like, that's super weird. Okay, I'm going to click on that, right? But anyone else who would have looked at it is oh, party invites, no big deal. Just on her work computer. So there was a file called Bryce, and it was hidden within, and she clicked on it, and it was a photo of the leather jacket that Danica wore up until her death, and then Bryce wore afterwards, that has through love, all is possible on the back. This is a huge sign for Bryce, right? So a literal clue that only she would get. Inside the L on the jacket was a flash drive and 3 videos on that drive, and they were wild. And that's the end of chapter 363. It's a short, quick chapter, but it does have quite a bit of information, and it has a big step in the case of what she's been working on. So huge, USB drive in the L in the jacket. And then we immediately jump into chapter 64. So Bryce goes home, and because she needs to show Hunt these videos that she just found, right? So before she does, we learn a little bit more about the wing healing and regrowing process, which I'm glad that Sarah went into this, because I was like, I have questions. Is this Deadpool? We got baby wings back there? How does this work? Right?
Baby wings.
Little baby
That'd be
wings.
so cute.
I in my mind, that's how it is. There's little baby wings back there, and then eventually they get bigger and bigger. But it's, I'm just gonna put it in it's fantasy box, so it's acceptable thing. I don't know. Yes, exactly. So once the wings are removed, it's really painful, obviously, but then they start to itch.
That would drive me insane.
I have nothing to compare this to other than when you get a new tattoo and it starts to itch really bad, but you can't like itch it, so you just have to like tap it a lot. I don't know if anyone can
Mhm.
relate to that, but like, and I'm sure that's like it's probably that, but times 100 for how
Yeah.
painful it is. So I don't know. And he also has to relearn how to fly once he gets his wings back.
That
So
really
it's
sucks.
yeah, it's a whole process.
That's like, there's that phrase like, it's like riding a bicycle, you just get back on. But like, you'd think
Yeah.
that flying would be so like part of his nature, but no, he has to relearn that too. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
really difficult.
And I feel like his arms and legs know what to do, right? Like he jumps up or however
Right.
the stance is when they're flying. I think that's still up in the air about where their legs are and their arms are when they're flying across the Maasverse. But whether or not they're doing Superman pose or not, I don't know. But the wings have to like remember, like learn how to flap, right? Because
Mhm.
they've never done that before. It's like when you push a baby bird out of a tree.
I
I'm
was
like
about to
stuck on
say,
the
I
arms. Like,
forgot
what
that
are
you
they
had to
doing with their
learn how to
arms?
fly.
I don't know what they do with their arms. I just assume they just like tuck up. I don't know.
I'm like
tuck 'em in.
imagining like
Yeah, they're flying
they're
with their
Eagles
wings.
fans, like
Yes. And then I think their legs just kind of hang out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just put it again in it's fantasy box. Therefore, I'm not going to think about it.
right.
I could
It's just
totally
accepted.
see like Hunt and either Isaiah or Justinian like going on a roof and Isaiah be like, okay, good luck, and just push Hunt off, be like, fly now. This is how you learn.
Yeah, they just push
Right.
him off a roof.
The
This is your
Azrael method.
initiation. Yes,
There you go.
exactly. So either way, he has to learn how to fly. He's got a long road ahead of him. So hopefully it will happen quickly. We also get a little kernel of information that seems unimportant, but will come back way down the line. We learned that in the Crystal Palace, where the Asteri live, every single angel that was a part of the rebellion had their wings cut, and every single pair of wings hangs on the walls within the palace.
I'm so glad you
So-
brought that up. I reread these chapters before the podcast, and I noted that for the first time. And I was like, I gotta put a pin
really?
in that. Yeah.
You put a pin in it.
I put a pin in
Yes.
that. Yeah.
And we can talk about that in the House of Theories and
Mhm.
Lore. So, like, again, for those who are not there yet and have not finished the series, like, this is a big kernel of information. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a big wink, wink. But just remember that it's there and that it exists.
Yeah.
So, moving on from that. Once they finally get to watch these videos, we get to understand what they're watching. Artificial Amplification for Power Dysfunction Test Subject 7 is the title of the videos that they are watching. And it's a video of a cell with a very, very small human woman. And we learn that these are synth research trial videos. So once the video sped up and went faster, we learn that like a druggie was infected or like injected with the synth, right? So you have the drug, they put it in this person. After a couple minutes pass, multiple large veneer like males enter the room. They have slave tattoos on their arms, so they, I guess, probably don't have a choice, right? Like this is just what they were given. This is where they are. So they were sent in the room, and we learned that they're like prisoners essentially. They went after the woman that was on synth, but she went after them as well, and it got pretty gruesome and it got pretty bloody, and she tore them all to pieces. So like this teeny tiny little lady just like ripped them to shreds. So we are then reminded of something that Therian said a while back, and he notes that synth could grant humans an insane amount of strength that is greater than the veneer. So it's also reminded that this is something that the human rebels would do like anything to get a hold of, right? Because that would give them a huge advantage in the war. So after those guys are annihilated, more come in. Like 2 more bigger guys come in. And after that, and she killed them all. So then the woman started screaming, and then after she got rid of all the other men, she then turned on herself and tore herself apart. And then I'm going to put a pin on that moment right there to our House of Theories and Lore, because I have a very big question for that portion. So the question is that they're asking is, how does this all go along with the Crystallos being summoned, and how does this tie into the horn? So Bryce states that maybe the horn has nothing to do with any of it, and the Crystallos was summoned solely to get the antivenom in case the synth ever turned on whoever was like using it, right? Or using it on others. So we know that Danica left these videos for Bryce, and Bryce now believes that Danica knew someone was coming after her when she was on that boat, supposedly buying the synth. She prepped everything for her death and for Bryce to hopefully discover after she was gone, right? So now the assumption is that a demon did not actually break into the apartment 2 years ago, but someone came in who was on synth and was able to overpower the pack. Hunt gets it, right? But he is also super hesitant to go along with this route of like this thought process that she has at all. And he's also still stressing, right? Because the summit is coming up and so is his deadline for his bargain. So they don't really have time to jump on random crazy theories and see where they take them because he's literally almost out of time. So if they fuck up one more time, Hunt legit might be killed instead of just the bargain being nullified. So he has a lot riding on the line. So in order for this all to be sorted out and a chance for Hunt and Bryce to have a future together that he's now mentioning, right? They have to do this so carefully. So Bryce takes the email that she has with all the videos and she forwards it to Hunt. So that way he can keep investigating that, right? And even though they have multiple murderers on the loose, people on some wild drugs, and an archangel with a temper to worry about, they 100% had time to get hot and bothered in this chapter, which I thought was so funny. Like, you're reading it and you're like, oh my gosh, like this could be happening. This is in the investigation. This is going on. And they're like, actually, let's hang out. Right?
I almost thought that kind of pulled me out of the scene a little bit. Like
in a good way or a bad way?
So I have a love-hate relationship with seeing intimacy in books. Because, like, listen, I read a lot of smut, like, in addition. And I actually, like, I don't...
Hold on.
Like, I don't qualify Sarah J. Maas as, like, fairy smut. I actually think it's very insulting when people say it. Because I'm like, it's like 2% of these books have, like, sex scenes. Like, these aren't smut. You know what I mean? Like, read Kiss of the Basilisk if you want something really...
Oh, my, never. One time in my life.
They're coming out with the sequel to that, too, which I'm like...
I know.
Really?
I'm going to read it.
I'm going to read it, too. But, like,
Wow.
you know, we just saw videos of people ripping one another apart.
Yeah.
And, like...
Right?
Now's a great time to get hot and bothered on the couch. And I'm like,
listen,
like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it just,
yeah.
But I guess, but, you know, at the same time, some people in very difficult situations get overpowered with emotion. And like, I think that that's also a very valid response. So I try not to like side eye that, but like, if I was in the middle of trying to figure out a murder mystery and I just saw these videos, I'd be like, why are we doing this right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I mean, taking down notes. And
Right,
Madison
like-
here is our hopeless romantic, so she's like,
No.
I can see it in your brain.
no, I was just gonna say it's very Rhysand and Feyre coded at the camp outside of
at
Highburn.
war.
Yeah,
We're
like
literally going
let's
to
get
war.
crazy right next to dead bodies.
She knows she can hear them dying outside the tent. So I'm like, this is awful.
Yes.
And like, I'm a romantic too. Like, I have a lot of opinions, but you guys know I have a lot of opinions about Rhys and Feyre. But
I know.
And I like Hunt and Bryce actually, like very, very much so. It was just one of those scenes where I was like, listen, I'm all about it. Like, I want to read in detail, but why now?
Time and
Do you know
place.
what I mean? Like, timing.
The first time I read this, I was like, okay, cool. But like rereading it and like in our deep dive, I was like, hold on. We're going through so much information.
Right.
And now I was like, hold on. Now I have to pause the information, like switch my brain and then go back to it. So yeah, it was interesting timing for sure.
But I wonder if that's the point. Like, you just brought up, like, having to turn that part of your brain off and another part on. You know, she does that really well, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
all of a sudden in the murder mystery trying to deep dive, and then all of a sudden there's a steamy scene, and that pulls our brain in another direction. Like, rightfully so, you know, 'cause she
Yeah.
writes those scenes very well, too. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, again, there was a lot in this chapter. There was a lot to take in. Like, this is also a big part
Yeah.
of their relationship that we're now seeing. So, it was a good chapter. It was a very confusing chapter.
Yeah. I wonder if it's almost like when you're watching a show and it's like at a really good part and then it's like, we'll be back after the commercials.
Right.
Right. And then it like shows you like an allergy medicine.
Yeah.
I also just feel like with Hunt and Bryce and their future history with these kind of scenes, they're all kind of very interesting. Or they happen at like the most interesting times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
I feel like that's
I
just
agree.
their vibe.
That is kind of their thing. That's a fair point. Yeah. So as both of them are both forgetting their names, Bryce does something so embarrassing. I absolutely cringed both times, first time and second time and third time reading this. Like, she shoved Hunt back on the couch, forgetting his literal wings were cut off. And he immediately was in agony. Ugh, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Hunt took it all in stride, but bro was not okay. He is in so much pain, and now his back is bleeding all over the couch.
And itching.
And itching, and it's messy, and the sweet moment that they had is now over. So he's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. Bryce says, absolutely not. We're calling a medwitch. So a medwitch is called, and Hunt again was really upset because they're not finished, but she's like, we are. And she, to prove it, she pokes his back, not the wing, below the wing, because he's like, we're not done here, like we're still, you know. And she's like, boop, and he's like, and she's like, we're done. Actually, like, you're not okay. you're clearly not well. So I'm good, we're good, we'll like come back to this, right? And so Medwitch is on her way. His back was rebandaged, and then the Medwitch is like, when you can fly again, then you can have fun again, basically. And she's like, whatever caused tonight's injury probably needs to be postponed until you're healed. So thank you, Medwitch. Now he's on restrictions.
He has the same restrictions as someone who just had a C-section. Like, I'm like thinking about this.
Exactly.
I had 2 C-sections, so like I'm thinking, I'm like, that's exactly what they told me.
Those sound familiar. Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
You cannot walk around. Yes. Yeah. No, Tylenol every 2 to 4 hours.
Yep, that's
oh my gosh. Yes. So everything kind of calms down, right? But Bryce couldn't sleep. And so she is now back in detective mindset. So we were in detective mindset, then we went to like sexy time, now we're back. So she sneaks out of the house and heads to her old apartment. This is the apartment that she shared with the Pack and Danica. However, when she arrived, the building was currently burning to the ground, proving that someone knew she hacked into Danica's email and was on the path to covering up any possible leftover evidence. And this happened pretty quickly, right? Like, she was at the office, she hacked in, she saw the videos, immediately went home to Hunt. What, maybe a couple hours? And then by the time she got to the apartment, it was burning down. So I thought that was wild. Yeah. And then as we're in this chapter, this quote is brought up again. And you guys will know this quote. Look towards where it hurts the most, per the Viper Queen. Many, many chapters ago, she said this for the first time. And we hear this throughout pretty much the entire book, right? So again, this was brought up once again because maybe this is all about the actual murderer. Bryce is getting closer each time she turned over a rock in this investigation, and she knew the person behind it was getting uncomfortable, right? They're getting a little bit nervous, so they're trying to like be a step ahead of her. So just as she's working on her way home, because obviously she can't go to this apartment that literally just burned down, she receives a text from Therian, who stated there was a deal going down on the river for possible synth, and offered to give her a ride out there to see what was happening. Worried she didn't have time to get to the synth and the steel before it was over, she didn't text anybody. She didn't text Hunt. She didn't text Rune. Nobody. She just went on her own. And that wraps up chapter 64.
So chapter 65, 66, 67, they're short, but
Mhm.
66 and 67, a lot happens. 65, not so much. But Bryce and Therian ride out on a skimmer to the part of the river where they suspect there's a small barge where the synth is allegedly being dealed. They note as they get closer that there are no humanoid forms on the boat, so they kind of stayed downwind to prevent them from essentially getting sniffed out, literally. As they drift closer to the barge on a current created by Therian, they note that the Viper Queen is the one doing the dealing. So that's the first individual that they're able to point out. But there's essentially the Viper Queen and then this mysterious cloaked figure. So as they're getting closer, they're trying to figure out who this is. They notice the Viper Queen saying, which I thought this part was really interesting. She says, "I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship, don't you?" Bryce pulls out her phone. She does some settings on her phone, make sure that the light doesn't out them, but she tries to take a photo. And she notices that the cloaked figure is Hunt. And I forgot about this whenever I was doing my reread, and I was like, "What?" I was in fact being boozled.
The first time I read that, my jaw was like on the floor. I was like, "Wait a second."
Yeah.
I was like, "What do you mean?"
I was
this is Hunt?"
furious.
I was mad.
First and second
angry.
time, my flabbers were gasted.
Yeah, he has a twin brother for sure. Like, this is not Hunt. This is actually his twin. Yeah. Ugh.
It's Azrael.
It killed me.
No.
Oh my gosh. More
Who's
like
that
Cassian.
Pokemon? It's Pikachu.
It's Jigglypuff. Dang it. Please tell me you know that video.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I know the TikTok one where it's like, who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu. It's
I know, but
Numero. Fuck. That's all I
Yeah,
know. That's the only
it's
one.
like- Yeah.
Right, that's the one.
Yeah.
It's
Is there a different
Clefairy.
one?
No, that was the one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like,
I
oh yeah, I
sure
know
we're
that
on
one.
the same page.
I quote that probably once a week.
As you should.
I don't know why. TikToks live free right here
Yeah.
every day.
That is me with just like random movie quotes or specifically SpongeBob. The amount of times I quote SpongeBob is astronomical.
That's were you guys
Antoinette,
on
are you a
that
SpongeBob
Lorax?
fan?
What?
Are you a SpongeBob fan?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh
Is
my
that
gosh.
okay? Good. Just checking.
Oh no, SpongeBob
checking.
and like we do Pokemon in my house. we
Oh,
have
okay,
a lot
okay.
of Pokemon. My son and my husband are really into Pokemon. So like by default, I'm into Pokemon. I have a favorite. It's Squirtle because he wears sunglasses.
Yeah, that's fair.
As you
Yeah.
should.
Were you guys on
My
that-
daughter.
Go
What?
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My daughter's into Pokemon. I'm trying.
I still
Should I-
have all my cards.
She's into the like evolutions. I guess
Oh,
like they
yeah.
turn into because they turn into like other Pokemon, and there's like
Mhm.
certain ones I should know that I'm trying to know. I don't know that.
There's
I
a
know
lot of
Eevee,
them.
Wow.
There's a lot of
Eevee, so
Pokemon.
cute.
and I only know Eevee because my daughter's name is Evie. So I'm like,
Aw.
I like that one because I remember that
Eevee's
one.
cute.
So,
I like
yeah,
Meowth. He
that's
talks and he's like kind of a smart ass. Like I have my
Yeah,
favorites.
I do like some Mewtwo, the purple
Mewtwo.
cat
Really?
question mark.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're just ones that I know from when I was younger. So
There's actually
the
a really good
comfortability
movie
of knowing them.
There's a really good movie, Mewtwo. I forget the name. I will message it to you guys, but it's basically like
Yes.
Frankenstein, but Mewtwo. And like, I was
Is it
watching
the
it with
one
my
where there's
son.
like a ghost girl?
Maybe, but I was watching
'Cause
it and I'm like, this is actually incredibly literary. It was all about like Mewtwo contemplating his existence. He was having an existential
Oh.
crisis.
I think that might be the one.
That's
I was like,
yeah,
what is
same
this?
Mewtwo.
I love it.
That I hate when it hits too close to home. Sometimes, like, are you a Bluey household?
We are the one with the
I
sun.
think it was the finale of the last season where they were like gonna sell their home and then they
Yeah.
didn't. My daughter, my husband, and myself all crying on the couch.
Aw.
Literally, all of
That's
us, like
so
tears.
funny.
And I was like, "What is
I like-
happening? What's happening right now?"
The one that gets me, I
didn't
love
know Blue
Sleepy
had
Time.
more.
Where like the mom is the sun Oh, that's such a beautiful episode. There's also Fairy
Yep.
Tale. Have you ever watched Fairy Tales? Bluey's
I
episode.
don't.
It's called Fairy Tales. It's
I think I've seen all of them.
I
What
used
happens
to,
in it?
so it's the story the father's telling about how he met the mother back when they were kids, like camping. And she was the
Oh, okay.
princess, and like she had to break the curse of him speaking. And
Mhm.
I don't talk about this a lot online, and you guys can put this in the. I don't care if it's in the podcast. I used to help like teaching, if that makes any sense, and like I used to run certain groups and everything for the school I was working at, and I actually used to show Fairy Tales, like the Bluey episode, because it's so good and there's so much under the surface that you're supposed to like pick out, and it's only like this 5-minute episode, but it's all about truth in fairy tales. And like this is so like apropos for like talking about Akatar and stuff. Like these are fairies, but there is universal truths to the things that we're talking about, right? Like, and it's just such an awesome episode if like you like deep diving into that sort of stuff, because it's so silly. Like you're watching it with your kids, but there's so much to unpack in this 5-minute Bluey episode. And you're like, oh my god! I'm sorry, we're totally off.
Now I'm gonna go rewatch it.
It's so good.
I didn't know that Bluey had lore,
but it's great.
Bluey has lore, and Mama Bluey also reads fantasy. And the reason I know that is because there's one time where she's outside by the tree reading a book, and if you zoom in, it has dragons on the cover.
Yep, and she knows everything about fairy rings. She knows that you can't go into one because you'll dance until you drop. Like she knows all about the fae lore. She
gets it. Yeah, she's got 2 wild children. They're awesome, but they're wild. So I'm sure she like needs to escape every once in a while. So I totally get that. My favorite one is the one where like eventually she's sitting on the porch and then someone sits next to her and they're like, "You're actually doing a really good job.
Oh,
you're like a really good
really
mom."
Good too.
And I was like, why? I'm just an emotional girly. It's fine.
Oh.
Gosh darn it, Bluey. Yeah, deep into my soul, that show. It's bad. So, well, we got way off topic.
Yeah,
Let's
anyway,
get back to
sorry, guys.
No, I love it. I'm here for it. Take it away, Mads.
Okay. We're on the boat. Bryce doesn't know how she got on the boat, but we're on the boat. And she finds, again, that the Viper Queen is the one dealing synth to Hunt, Victoria, and Justinian. Tharian tells the Viper Queen that she's under arrest under the jurisdiction of the River Queen. And essentially, this is kind of just like another back and forth. Reminds me of the Marvel scene of like, where's Gamora? Who's Gamora? Why is Gamora? The tensions are high. But Bryce first asks Hunt, what is this? Before he can answer, Micah, Naomi, Isaiah, and 6 other angels land on the barge, guns aimed at Hunt. And we learned that the Viper Queen sold out Hunt and Co. to Micah.
Yep.
Very rude.
But like expected.
Expected, but like, bruh. Hunt tries to say that his intentions were to stop the dealings, and that once he figured out that what was going down, he wanted to stop it. The Viper Queen adds that the 3 angels wanted to buy the synth to restore some of their power that was taken and take down their masters. Micah confirms these allegations, saying, and this is a quote, he said, "These 3 learned of the synth days ago and have since been seeking out a way to purchase it and distribute it among their fellow would-be rebels, to attain its power long enough to break their halos and finish what Shahar started on Mount Hermon. She was gracious enough to inform me of this plan after Justinian tried to recruit a female under her influence." And I don't know if that's like, because I can't recall. I know that we'll learn more about the Viper Queen and her influence in, I believe, the next book, and definitely book 3. But I can't recall if there's like a telltale sign of like who is under her influence. Because I'm like, what if this is just like dumb Justinian move, or if like there's truly like not a way to know, like, oh, whoops, like she is in fact under her influence. Do you recall?
I
Was
don't.
it silly Justinian mistake?
I don't recall.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
That's a good question.
Then we shall read.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, break it down for me one more time. I want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
So the reason that they got found out was because Justinian was talking to some girl, like saying like, hey, we're going to take this drug that gives us powers and we're going to take down our masters. You went in or do you want out? Unbeknownst knowing that this girl is under the Viper Queen's influence. So my guess is it's kind of like a little blood oath situation to where the Viper Queen is like, got anything you want to share with the class? And she just like blabs about the whole thing, and then she tells Micah. But I can't remember if there's like for instance, if someone is one of the fallen or a slave because they have the halos and then they have the tattoos on their wrist. I can't recall if there's I don't think there's a telltale sign to be like, oh,
like under the Viper Queen's influence. So this, I don't want to spoil too much because I know there is somewhat of a sign, but it's not really like
predominant.
a direct like, oh, for sure that's what's happening, right? But it's the same as like being on a drug. Like your eyes are a little glossy, like your thoughts are not really there, like you're not really good in conversations, like things like that. And we will get into that in later books in this series. Like we will dive a little bit deeper into that. But no, I don't think we circle back around to like which female was under the influence of the Viper Queen specifically that like Justinian talked to, as far as I know. And if we're wrong on that later on, I will correct myself. Promise.
I don't think we ever learn who he talked to.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know if like he was spewing all of these secrets to a girl that's like clearly checked out. It's like, oh, my bad. I didn't see the sign. You guys.
I don't think we get much more information on that. I think that it like the ... influence part will come back.
100%.
But other than that, no.
Okay. I digress. We continue.
Sarah's trying to mess with you.
Yeah, she does that a lot. It's fine. I'm still here for it. Hunt confirms that he did in fact know about the synth days ago when he was assigned to take down 3 drug lords. And they spilled the beans, telling Hunt of a synth leak from Redner Industries and that people had been trying to replicate the formula. He didn't know it had anything to do with the case until he saw the videos that he and Bryce watched back from Danica's Redner account. Bryce then asks how the synth was leaked, and Hunt says, doesn't matter. He tries to scoot it under the rug for Bryce's benefit. However, Micah, the gem that he is, says it was because of Danica. And poor Bryce.
She needs to know.
She needs to know, but Danica just kept so much from her.
we could talk about this when we
rightfully
do the spoilers.
So.
Danica's the worst. The worst.
Oh no!
I'm anti-Danica.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk about. I don't know if I will leave agreeing with you, but we'll talk. I'm open to listening.
Okay, we will continue this because I have more words as well.
I'm stressed.
Hunt confirms that Danica was in fact a dealer and she stole the formula, sold the stock, and used it and got addicted. He also believes that the evidence also points to Danica being the one who killed the CCU students the night the horn was stolen, and that's why she was seen with Maximus Tertian, and that was because he was an addict and she was his dealer. Mm-hmm. Again, Micah, a gem of a guy, says, aren't you going to tell her the rest? And Hunt's like, not necessary, let's go. And Bryce is like, tell me what? So then Micah says that he already knows the truth about Danica's murder. And again, once confirms that he does in fact know that Danica OD'd on the synth and killed the pack, but also herself. And that is why there was no audio in the video footage of the killer. Bryce asks about the horn, and Hunt says that she probably stole the horn to piss off Sabine and probably essentially sold it on the black market. Bryce then is like, well, that horn thread you kind of have a alleged idea of what you think that's about. What about the Crystallos? And Micah says that whenever there are high up traces of synth that are being dealt with or OD'd on, those traces can give the user the ability to open portals. And since it contains obsidian salt, this is the interesting part. He says that the salt summons the Crystallos. So not necessarily the person who is taking the synth is actively, like, intentionally summoning the Crystallos, but the salt itself can, like, lure the Crystallos on its own. So you don't need someone to summon it, kind of like how Bryce and Hunt did from Sadis.
I wonder how, like, factual that is. Do you know what I mean? Like,
or just because it came out of
able...
Micah's mouth.
Right, exactly. So, and I know we can't, like, go too much into the things, but I found that so interesting where he just, like, he just knows, right? Do we just put it in the, oh, he's the archangel, so he just knows box? You know what I mean?
We can talk about this later because I have some words.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that too.
I hope you guys are all staying for the House of Theories and Lore today because it's gonna get wild in there. Woo-hoo, I can't wait. Okay, go ahead.
So we're gonna put another pin in it. Micah also says or confirms that the Crystallos does in fact eat body organs and then deposits them in the sewers. That's why bodies are turning up there. And the Acolyte and the Temple Guard have been ruled out as not being murdered by the Crystallos, but by someone who is high on synth, just by looking at the difference in how the bodies turned out. Essentially, Hunt is again trying to explain himself. He's trying to go towards Bryce to kind of comfort her. Before he can even take a step, Fury joins the party. And she holds a gun to Hunt's head. And again, who and what is Fury? I need to know because
about this.
in these little moments,
Mm-hmm.
after Fury appears, has a pew of Hunt's head, we learn that Micah didn't detect her. She emerged from shadows beyond the crates of synth, and also she is described, a quote again, that Fury Axtar was Liquid Night. She made herself infamous for knowing the world's secrets. And I want more Fury because I love this little moment where she tells the Viper Queen to go away, that she's dealing with this, and the Viper Queen's like, well, this is my boat, and Fury's like, well, get out of my face. And then the Viper Queen listens. Mm-hmm. And like everyone's scared of the Viper Queen, but the fact that Viper Queen's listening to Fury, I need to know more. I need a Fury novella.
Yeah, Fury is not scared of anybody, right? The only thing she's ever been like hesitant about is the synth itself, right? So like when she was talking to Bryce and the synth was brought up, she was like, be careful with that. Like that's really bad stuff. Like she got nervous about it. So that is interesting. And we have talked in our House of Theories and Lore before, like who is Fury? What is Fury? What is her backstory? Like what are our guesses? So Antoinette, later on, if you have theories about that too, I'd like to know your thoughts.
All right.
I would also like a novella on Fury. Like I just need some sort of backstory on like who or what she is. Hopefully one day we find out.
Hopefully we get more.
I think that'll be a
reveal in book 4.
I think there's something to her. Yeah.
There has to be, right?
Yeah. She's described as being Liquid Night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who else is Night incarnate? Like, just.
Yep.
I think I know where you're going, but I was thinking of someone else.
I think we all have different theories about her. Oh, okay. All right. We're going to have that Fury conversation. Who is Fury? Yes.
It's fine. Well, we have words. But we also, my bad. We learn also that Hunt knew the truth about everything for about a week. He first wanted the synth, like they said, to regain power, to take down the people who are above them. But once he saw that the videos, he went to talk down Victoria and Justinian whenever they weren't listening, and he heard that they were going to in fact go on the boat to do the deal. That's why he also ended up on the boat, and it was to stop them. Bryce takes the opal that Hunt gave her, and she throws it so hard at his head that he starts to bleed. And this was such a good line. It hit hard for me. The fact that she hit him with that opal so hard that it's described that his halo itself looks like it was bleeding, which I thought that was that's a very good line, very
It's
powerful
also
line.
very, like, it's like Christ imagery, right? He has a crown
Yes.
of thorns on his head, and now they're
Yep.
bleeding. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
There is. No, you're not wrong. In this moment, did you believe Hunt in his explanation of, I did this, yes, I wanted to not do it, I wanted to change my mind? Did you guys believe him the first time you read this?
I did.
I think I was just so in shock. I was just like, hold on, what? My brain
mad,
was
but I
short
believed him.
circuiting.
Okay.
I
did
think
not.
I think I believed
Okay.
him.
I immediately was like, nope, liars. Lies.
Scoundrels.
I've been betrayed. Yeah.
It reminds me of
Get
that.
out of here.
It reminds me of that one scene from Legally Blonde where she was watching that TV show after she gets broken up with, and she's like, liar, and throws the chocolate.
Yes. Throw chocolate right at that handsome man's face. Yeah, the first time I read this, I was devastated. I was crushed. I was so mad.
I believed him, but my brain was short-circuiting so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But after Bryce throws the opal at Hunt, she tells him that she never wants to see him again, and Micah says, don't worry, that won't be a problem. With that, Fury escorts Bryce off the boat and says that Bryce is done with them and even threatens the governor. Which,
Love her.
Again, the girl boss baddie that Fury is, I love it so much.
Yeah, she's the best.
But that is where chapter 66 ends. Chapter 67 starts with Rune waiting for Bryce at her apartment. So Fury essentially sent him a text letting him know briefly, not too many details of what's going on, but just, you know what? Come to the apartment. We need you. Come look after your sister. So not only is Rune waiting for Bryce in her apartment, but also Deck and Flynn are standing guard on the roof. Bryce, as soon as she gets into the apartment, breaks down and is kind of coming to terms with all the new information that she just learned, as well as that pretty big betrayal, because that is what it was. Bryce thinks that Hunt is the one who burned her old apartment down using his lightning, and essentially he was able to warn the civilians by pulling a fire alarm because we know that there was no casualties. But again, this is just her suspicion. There's no technical confirmation on what has happened. This is just her trying to create like a little mystery board with all the pins and strings. She also does not believe that Hunt was trying to stop said deal. She also comes to terms with Danica being the one who killed the pack, and now, thanks to Bryce trading her spot in the Sleeping City for Danica, we now know that Bryce also believes that Danica is now suffering because she has to live eternally in shame for her actions.
Yeah.
Which is so rough.
That is rough. And then just a reminder for those, like, if you forgot. So, like, once when the pack was killed and when Danica died, Bryce went to, like, the Bone Quarter and traded, essentially, like, her soul for Danica's soul. So, like, that way Danica would cross over on the boat because Bryce is like, I don't care what happens to me as long as Danica makes it through.
Plus, no one knew if Danica's going to make it through. That was, like, the big thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But as Bryce is having her crash out, rightfully so, she kind of she's physically there, but is mentally checked out. But whenever Fury returns to the apartment, she updates Rune on what has happened to the three angels, and Bryce kind of overhears everything. So we first learned that Hunt is in a holding cell under the Comitium. Justinian was crucified and is currently bleeding out in the middle of the Comitium lobby and was given something to slow his healing. So he's there. He's not getting any medical assistance. And it's essentially theorized that because of his wounds and everything, that he's probably not going to last very long. It's just going to be a really, really slow way to go. This one hurt. Victoria, who again is a wraith, which again can take the form of any other beings. Her original punishment after Mount Hermon was to be trapped in the body that she chose. Now, with everything that went down, her new punishment was that her essence was ripped from that body and was shoved into a box, which has been rumored to be dumped into a trench by Micah, where she will fall to the bottom of the sea and essentially go insane from isolation and darkness.
That's so rough.
Yeah.
It's rough, and I don't want to say, I don't think it's a spoiler. We can cut it out if it is, but the fact that, like, people forget that. Like, I feel like Justinian is kind of, like, referenced and, like, remembered and memorialized, but no one talks about Victoria. Or, like, go help that girl.
Yeah.
She's, like, still alive. Just, like...
Yes. Chapter 68. And this is where we end part 3. We are officially in part 4, the ravine. So we know that Hunt is officially in the holding cells underneath the comitium. It is a white cell with chrome bars that make his magic dull out. So he is, not only does the halo dull his magic, but now it's like really dulled. So there is a screen for him to watch. And on that screen was Justinian hanging on a crucifix in the center, as well as a glass box at the bottom covered in blood. So we know that Justinian was still alive, and we know he's like slowly suffocating and he's not able to heal himself. And his wings were also removed and are now lying on the floor. So super gory, graphic scene for everybody to watch, right? So we know that Victoria is in the box, and we know that the blood is coming from like Justinian, like dripping down on her. So this poor woman's essence is in this box that's like literally being gooped on. Ugh.
Can I just say my first thought back to like my brain being sidetracked is whenever you were saying that Hunt was being held in a cell with chrome bars, my brain again just went to SpongeBob and I was like, everything's chrome in the future. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Everything is chrome in Crescent City future. Yes. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's fair. For all of our millennial friends who love SpongeBob, will also laugh at that reference. If we have any younger and or older fans, they're gonna be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So it'll be our little joke. So Isaiah shows up to the cell to question Hunt, and his first question is why? Like, why? What the fuck, basically, right? So he explains that it all has to stop at some point, and Isaiah questions Hunt if it was worth it. Like, is this what you really wanted? And Hunt realized in the moment when he received a text from Victoria that it was not worth it, but nothing has changed and nothing has gotten better. So this plan had been in place for a really long time. This wasn't just like 2 nights ago they figured it out and it was like, let's put this plan in place. Like, this had been something that was in motion, right? So once Hunt found out about the synth and everything that it could do, they decided that it was finally time for a change, and they were done working for Micah and doing his dirty work. He went to, obviously we know that he went to the Viper Queen, and he, over in the meat market, he struck a deal. So Vic paid for the synth because she had been saving up like gold that she had gotten in the past. So they truly had this all planned out, and they had no idea that the Viper Queen would turn on them. That was not something that they saw coming, which I feel like is fair because of who and what she is and what she runs. So I feel like I don't think I would have seen that happening. I don't think I would have been like, oh, watch out for the Viper Queen. Like, she'll turn on you to Micah. Like, I don't think I would have seen that coming. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Unless someone gave her a better deal.
Right.
But that was a true twist for me that I was like, oh, okay, that's wild. So the goal was to take the synth and kill everyone at the summit. And then make their way over to Pangea, basically across the sea, to finish what they had started. Hunt was working on getting the antidote, which there was, obviously we know the Medwitch was making it, so if the drugs turned on them, they could fix it. And every time I read like another word in this chapter, I got more and more angry because he was with Bryce this whole time, planning all these things, like trying to help solve this case. And the whole time he was like not being like truthful, right? It made me, I was really, really mad. But after Hunt saw the footage of the synth projects and trials, he changed his mind. But he really like couldn't stop it. It was too late. So Isaiah makes the point that Isaiah's like, I had something and someone to look forward to give me hope and motivate me to earning my freedom. And he's like, I thought you did as well, right? He had Bryce. But when it came time to actually make that decision, it was too late, which was really shitty. So I ask a question. What would have happened, in your opinion, if they would have looped Isaiah in back in when they were starting this? Do you think he would have gone along with it? Do you think he would have talked them out of it? Or do you think he would have gone to Micah?
I think Isaiah's your classic Daenatos.
What do you mean by that?
I feel like at this point, Isaiah, because he like, not that not that he is accepting of his status and everything that's gone down. I feel like he kind of knows that you just kind of have to grin and bear it in order for things to be so much better than what they are, because he has like a little bit more privileges than Hunt does, because he's literally Micah's second in a way. So I think, even though I know Isaiah's probably on the same mindset of Hunt, of that Shahar had the right idea, in a perfect world they would have like fulfilled Shahar's plan. I think that I keep wanting to say Micah. I feel like Isaiah is kind of just like at a point to where he's just also like, even though he doesn't agree with how the government is laid out and everything, he still is kind of just like in a point of just go with it, because if you do something, then you're only going to bite yourself in the butt.
Like a yes man kind of thing?
Kind of.
Like a rule follower. These are the rules. This is where I'm at.
Yeah, like kind of just do what you're told. Otherwise, like it's only going to get worse for you.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you. I think he might have tried to talk him out of it. I don't know if he would have betrayed them necessarily, like went to Micah, but I don't think he would have went along with it right away.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there, in previous chapters, there was one moment where we got a small smidge of a flashback where during the war, right, when Hunt was leading the rebellion, where it mentions that he was in the tent trying to be like, are you sure that this is what we like are supposed to be doing? Like, I feel like you're following like Shahar into battle for like, you're blind. Like, what's happening? And it doesn't give us any context of the conversation except for like one sentence.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel like Isaiah like would have tried to bring Hunt back to reality. Which part of me thinks it may have worked this time. Right? Because he's like, well, Isaiah tried to talk me out of it. Like, and then he probably would have brought up Bryce and like all these things. So I don't know. I wonder like how different the story would have been. But they didn't loop him in. They didn't tell him anything. So I see why he is really upset and really hurt. So Hunt asked Isaiah to tell Bryce that he was sorry. He was more upset about how he made Bryce feel, like breaking her heart, than his friends hanging in the lobby, which I think tells you like how much he cares about Bryce. And also they're literally broadcasting this whole thing on television. Like they're broadcasting the crucifix and the box and the wings on the ground on television. Everybody can watch it. So we know what's happening to them, but it's not noted about what's happening to Hunt downstairs. So Bryce still has no idea. So then in the chapter, we go back to Bryce and Lahaba, where we find out that the Medwitch was working on an antidote and finished it and dropped it off via messenger. Even though this was a huge deal. Like, she's been working on this for a while. They finally have a solution that doesn't need the help of the witch's magic to hold it all together. And all it does is make Bryce really sad. It just upsets her. Because it's like she's like thinking about like all the things again that her and Hunt have been working on. So It was a reminder of her and Hunt and how he betrayed her. Instead of throwing it in the trash like she had thought about doing, she locks it in Jessica's office, literally next to the Godslayer rifle that hung on the wall. And this is where I'm going to give you guys a big wink wink. Remember that this sentence right here, I'm not telling you why, I'm not telling you what happens, but this is an important moment. So she got a ring at the gallery, right? She's at work, and the Autumn King appeared. Of course he did. Of course, on this day, right? So a reminder to you guys that this is Bryce's biological dad, and nobody knows about it, like including Hunt. So like the king knows, she knows, like Ember knows, her mom, and Rune knows. That's like pretty much it that knows. So he had never come to see her before, and Bryce is really hesitant in his presence. So she reminds him that there are cameras everywhere. That's another wink wink. There's cameras all over the gallery, upstairs and downstairs. So now the king is demanding that Bryce speak with him, and she reminds him that he is not her king. He rebuttals with that though, saying like legally she is legally he is her king because she is a member of Sky and Breath, which is the house that she is in. So he asked if she stopped looking for the horn. He's like, are you still looking for the horn? Because technically it is still a pretty deadly artifact. She informs him that Danica took the horn, hid it somewhere, and summoned those demons herself. And the horn, he's like, the horn cannot fall into the wrong hands. And she's like, I feel like they don't need to fall into your hands. But,
right.
Okay. Like, it's probably better off where it's at, honestly, because nobody has it. He wants it back, though, and he tells Bryce that it would mean a great deal to his people if it was returned, but she really doesn't care. And I felt like that was another dig. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, right? He was like, technically you are in this, and I am your king, but then he's like, it would mean a great deal to my people instead of our people. I just thought it was interesting. Where he was like trying to be like, hey, you are a part of this, like whether you want it or not. And then he's like, actually, like if you found it, it'd be a good deal for my people. So I don't know if that was helping his argument at all. And then he does something a little wild that I missed the first time. He then warps the audio. I don't know how he does it with magic, I guess. He warps the audio and then he tells Bryce that he loved her mother very much, and she was like, okay, sure, like you left a scar on her face, that was a good sign of love, my friend, like you obviously didn't love her. And he said, he's like, I spent every moment regretting it and regretting my actions and living with shame. LOL. Yeah, sure. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on this. Like I feel like I have a lot of thoughts on this. Like you're saying all these things, like he's like, I spent every moment regretting this, like I live with shame. Do you think that he does? Does it matter?
I want to know more in the sense of it reminded me kind of like with the whole Eris and Moore situation where he's like, I would tell you, but you gotta ask more. Not saying that like anyone is hiding anything, but in the sense of like, there's definitely more behind the story that it's just glossed over and we just are left with whatever information that they give or lack thereof.
I have a lot to say about Ember Quinlan. So like, and I said that earlier that I think she's one of the reasons why Bryce doesn't have a good relationship with Rune. And I think that to your point that you just said, I think that there's a lot more going on. And I think that, and like this might be a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler. I think because of her, Bryce has a lot of conflicting feelings about the Fae in general. And that includes who Bryce 100%. Is. Yeah. Bryce was raised to hate the Fae. Well, she's half Fae. So what does that do to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Like, how could she have a good relationship with anybody who's in the Fae? And at one point, the Fae were good enough for Ember. Obviously the Autumn King is an incredibly abusive piece of shit. But at one point, Ember didn't have a problem with the Fae. Well,
and my question is, did she raise her to hate the Fae, or did she eventually teach her to hate just Vanir males? Because I don't think I see her. You know what I mean? Like even when they're on the phone, like in previous chapters, they're on the phone. Like Hunt is meeting the parents via video chat or whatever. She like calls her again, and she's like, just be careful. Like he's a Vanir male. Like he's a Vanir male. You need to watch yourself. Like, you know how they are. And she's like, I know, Mom, I know. But I don't think that she ever said that about like Danica or any other like female in her life.
Yeah, that's
in
actually
that area.
that's a great point you're bringing up. Like, I guess that's a no. I think you're correct. It's the magical veneer people, right? Like, but again, Bryce is half veneer, right? And I just think that like Ember just does a number on her daughter, and I think that there's times when Ember is an incredibly I don't want to do spoilers. She's an incredibly powerful female figure, and I give her a lot of credit for a lot of things that we find out. But then there's a lot of times when I say, okay, but you took, I don't know what you guys' what your nationalities or your ethnicities are, obviously. I'm half Italian American. She has so many qualities of an Italian American mother and woman. And like not always in the best way, like the overbearing constant calling, like be careful, watch boys, they want one thing, you know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of like she leads by fear a little bit, like raises by fear, and I don't know if that's a good way to raise a child, you know what I mean? And you know, I wonder if your parent taught you to hate a group of people who you were also part of, what that would do to you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, because Bryce also didn't know much about her Fae lineage, because even whenever we go into the chapter of learning about Bryce going to the Oracle, we learn that like Ember even has like a little bit of remorse and feeling bad, like, oh, maybe I did keep you from like your Fae heritage. Here, let me get in contact with your dad. And now you can like actually go spend a summer in that world and meet your dad, your brother, and learn all the things.
I mean, not to mention she's a literal princess. You know what I mean? Like, she's Mia Thermopolis, but like, you know what I mean? Like, in a really weird way. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong. Like that fair analogy. I don't know. And Madison and I have talked about this in the past on previous episodes. Like, I understand that like she is overbearing. She's like, is your house clean? Like, did you do this? Be careful. Like all these things. But at the same time, as a mom, if I had to run from someone that hurt me, I don't know if I would ever be able to be like, yes, go to them. Right.
Exactly. And
so part of me is like, as a mom, I'm like, oh, I get it. As a girl, like as a woman, I'm like, that would be really nice to like learn my heritage and learn my past and my family and my brother and all these things. But like, part of me understands why Ember was like, let's wrap you in bubble wrap and keep you safe and keep you here where you can just be.
Yeah, and I get that. I don't want you to think I don't like, and I do.
No, I get both sides. Yeah,
exactly.
No, you also make good points. Like it's probably I think it's a really hard decision. I don't know, and I definitely think that she is overbearing. Coming from someone who is also probably overbearing on her children, I'm always like, be careful, be careful, be careful. Like, don't touch that, don't do that.
Oh no, yeah, same.
So like, and my husband's like, you need to sit down. They're fine. I'm like, they're gonna get hurt. They could get hurt. And they're like, they're fine. They're just kids. So. But yes, like and I think Sarah does that. I feel like she does that on purpose, where she knows moms read this.
Yeah.
And I think that she writes the moms in such an interesting way.
Yeah. When we get into the spoilers, I have a lot to say about Ember and pregnancy. We can get into that.
Yes, and we are almost there. We are so close. So with the Autumn King, we are still in there. He claims that they are the same. Bryce and Ember. They're two peas in a pod. They are the same because they never forgive anybody. Bro, you don't deserve forgiveness, first of all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you guys hold a grudge. Yeah, you did something really bad. You don't deserve forgiveness. And have you ever said sorry to Ember? I don't think so. So he says that he had the paperwork ready to make Ember the queen, like the Autumn Queen, essentially. But Bryce knows that she would have declined. And he claims that Ember would have said yes. Which is because, I don't know. I don't have an answer to this because I feel like I'm saying like multiple sentences at once. But Bryce knows her mom now, but he knew her then. So I wonder if Ember would have said yes to being queen, right? Because she knew her mom like after the incident, right? Where all the walls went up. So it's interesting. And I wonder like what that would have looked like. So also, this does not erase what he did, right? And he gets it, but like no one is falling for his act right now of like, I was always regretful, blah, 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 blah. So Bryce is like, get to the point. I'm over it. So before he leaves, he says, I came after all these years to tell you, you may be like your mother, but you are more like me than you realize, and that is not a good thing. Rude. And that wraps up the chapter and also our chapters for today. So we are now ending your guided tour of Crescent City. So again, if you read up to these chapters and you have read past, we are going into House of Theories and Lore. So this is spoiler city, spoiler central. We are here. If you are into spoilers and you don't care, stick around. If you've already read the series in the Maasverse, stick around and hang out with us. We have a lot to talk about. If not, thank you for joining the Goodish Girls. We will see you next week. Welcome to the House of Theories and Lore. We are here to talk about it. We have some questions, but for the most part, I am giving Antoinette the floor to just unleash all the information for us. I feel like I'm watching your content in real life, which is amazing. I feel like this every time we interview like an audiobook narrator and they read a line for me. Like I'm like real life. So this is amazing. I'm so excited. Okay, so welcome. I know, Madison, you have some questions. I have some questions. I want to start with Ember Quinlan just because we ended with her. So let's start there if everyone's cool with it. Take it away. What are your thoughts? What you said you have a lot of thoughts on Ember. What do you think about her? What are we not seeing?
I think that Ember is a complex character, and I like complex female characters. I think that she did teach Bryce a little bit to hate part of her own self because she is afraid of veneer males. She's afraid of the Fae, and like she has a hatred for them, right? And in a really weird way, she has a lot in common with Feyre from the first book. Like she has hate in her heart for the Fae. You know what I mean? So that's like
that's fair.
I've never even thought about that until right now, but that's this is the process. But so when you're raised by somebody who hates a part of who you are, I think that could be incredibly damaging. But like we said, previously, I do understand her hesitancy. She's been hurt by these, veneer. So I understand her. I don't know if I would raise my child exactly the same way. But regarding her pregnancy, and this was something I had alluded to in the last part, I think that we're supposed to look at her in opposition to Feyre, actually, especially in terms of pregnancy and having children. And when you mirror the way that we understand Feyre's pregnancy journey and her trying to conceive journey, like, if you have kids, you know what TTC means, right? And then you look at Ember, there's a lot of stark contrasts here. The first person to realize Feyre's pregnant is actually Rhysand. Ember realizes that she's pregnant first and tries to leave the King of Autumn, right? So that's a difference. And we see Ember come into her own independence and take over doing everything for herself when she gets pregnant, right? Like she runs away, she goes to the temple. She is guarded by women, okay? And she, is left being this like female empowerment, very independent kind of person. Feyre, on the other hand, can't use her powers anymore. She's guarded, but she's guarded by the inner circle. She's not guarded by women necessarily. Right. Her bodyguards are the Bat Boys. And at the end, she winds up dying in childbirth, and Ember does not. And when you look at these two pregnancy situations, they're very different, right? And I think that pregnancy is such a vulnerable time for women, and I feel bad for Feyre's pregnancy and I feel bad for Ember's pregnancy, but for completely different reasons, right? Like Ember was survival. She had to get away. And then with Feyre, it looks like she's locked in the gilded cage during her pregnancy. She can't even use her powers anymore. She's completely stripped of everything. And I don't know, I feel like there is a romanticizing about Feyre's pregnancy, but I think that we're supposed to look at Ember's pregnancy and compare the two, especially because these books were actually published right next to each other. Right.
Right. Well, and it's interesting to me that the Autumn King didn't realize it before Ember.
That's weird, right? But aren't the Fae's powers in Crescent City a lot more watered down than they are in ACOTAR? Like in ACOTAR, they're like ramped up. And then the Autumn King makes a mention that like the powers of the Fae are like waning. Like they're
he does. That's true. He does.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That could have something to do with it. But Ember in general, I have mixed feelings about her because I think that there's times when she's a good mom, and I think that she actually is a very maternal figure to Nesta, and she recognizes abusive men. And that's one of the reasons, like, you know, everyone knows I'm very critical of ACOTAR. I actually like ACOTAR too. I just want to put that out. Everyone's like, how could you like these books? I actually really like these books. I look at it from a different perspective. And the fact that Ember sees so much abuse happening with the inner circle really is like a red flag to me. It frightens me. You know what I mean? And like what she sees in Rhysand is alarming because she's able to draw comparisons to her own abuser. And that's weird, you know, like, oh no.
It is weird.
But so that's my opinion on
That's interesting.
on Ember. But
I have heard theories before that Ember is more powerful than she lets on.
What is
I don't
power?
have any receipts for it.
No, that's okay. Like, and I think that this might be a philosophical question, but like, what does it mean to be powerful?
Yeah, that's true.
I think, and whenever we do episode 10, I think it is, I'll go into it, but I know that there's like a theory that essentially kind of like how Alita and Lorcan, like their relationship and their dynamic is like very dependent on the gods that they're tied to and like the gods that wink at them. And people are saying that like even I compare kind of like Ember and Randall to Alita and Lorcan with their relationship with the gods ish. Because, I mean, Ember's described as wearing the symbol of Chthona. And so people are theorizing like that maybe she is either reincarnate of Chthona, or maybe Chthona just smiles on her particularly. The temple that Randall was going to devote himself to was Solus, who'sChthona's mate. So I feel like that dynamic and like I feel like that's very telling of a lot.
And they're both now like basically they're part of those, like once they escaped, they were like deemed like a vessel basically for those. So they're untouchable.
Think about that too. I'm actually glad you brought that up. I had forgotten about that, but they're protected by priestesses, right? And like the religious life. And religious life, and you know, I talk about it a lot. I actually studied theology and I used to teach it for a really long time. The religious life, our protectors are like strong. And then when you look at the night court, where's the religious life? Well, they're abused and battered women living in a cave, locked away. Like, there's a difference there. You know what I mean? Like, in one, the women are very, very powerful, protecting this like vessel. This essentially, and Ember winds up becoming a tabernacle, right? Because she's which is being protected. And then you have the priestesses in the night court that are like, they get a skylight, and that's their only sunlight. Like, it's strange, right?
They
like,
have Bryaxis.
Yeah, and they live in the library with the demon creature, like with
the demon's like, I want windows.
I know, like how
my bargain for
is
you.
that? You know what I mean?
Give me windows.
Please, a window.
No, that's interesting. That's a good point. That's fair. The other question I want to know: who and what is Fury Axtar? We all have different opinions.
Okay. Let me find my notes. Because in that scene where she is on the boat, the things that I mentioned, I feel like majority of the time, I feel like Fury is kind of, I kind of want to say like almost Amryn vibes-ish. But after
I got Amryn vibes.
After this little bit of information where it says that Micah didn't detect her like getting on the boat, she emerged from I find it very interesting that they said that she emerged from the shadows beyond the crate, not just like the crate's shadows. So to me, that implies that like crate's here, shadows can be cast at a distance, and she like materialized, like she didn't just pop out behind a crate. And she's described as Low Good Night, which I think, Antoinette, I think with that you were kind of leaning more towards Rhysand. But after that, they say that Fury has made herself infamous for knowing the world's secrets. So I think that since everyone kind of like has, especially in book 3, we see a cross-reference of Bryce saying like, oh, Rhysand looks like Rune. Hunt looks like Cassian. I feel like Fury, with those descriptions, she's giving me Shadowsinger vibes.
that's actually the secrets thing and the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Because doesn't
And
Azrael
being
plays with
Liquid
shadows,
Knight.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe she is like a
'Cause
shadow
we don't
singer,
know-
kinda.
We don't know what Fury is, who she is, if she has power, or
We don't know what
anything.
god she claims. We know nothing, literally nothing about her. We don't know her species. We don't know anything. And this is like from our very first episode, so if you want to go back to that one, like our listeners, you can. So there was a thing on Reddit I found from Emmy Ego, and it says, I think the biggest clue to what Fury is lies in her name, the Furies. So I believe that Fury is just as her name suggests. She is one of the Furies. In Greek mythology, the Furies were essentially the female assassins of hell. They lived in the underworld, but would ascend to earth to kill those who had committed sins. Evidently, this aligns perfectly with what we know about our own Fury, who is also an assassin, as she regularly undertakes mysterious missions to kill certain people off all around the world. And she, under whose command, we still literally don't know, right? So, although from different mythologies, the Furies and the Valkyries are very similar, and for the sake of comparison, I think that is exactly what Fury is, a member of Hell's Valkyries, a warrior woman of Hell. And that is what Emmy Ego says. And that paragraph sticks with me a lot because it has a lot of crossovers from mythology, which we know Sarah kind of leans into. We have a Valkyrie, which we know Sarah also references in other parts of her series, female assassins. Like, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Or what do you think Fury is?
I think all of that's really compelling. Like, and I think that that's the thing too, is that there's so many possibilities and there's so many receipts all over the place, right?
Mhm.
Like, on one hand, she does really come across like a shadow singer. And then on the other hand,
Yeah.
she definitely sounds like a mythological Fury, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think that any of that is possible. I think that the question that I'm wondering is she benevolent? Is she good? Is she bad? And like, I originally
Mhm.
thought of Amryn. I don't think Amryn's good.
Agreed.
I think Azrael is good. Like,
Also
Mhm.
agreed.
even if he's from hell, I think he's gonna have one of those like, what am I? Like creature
Mhm.
versus creation, existential crises kind of thing. And
Yeah.
if she's a Fury, they're not inherently bad if they're doing their job, right? Like,
Mhm.
what does it mean
Yeah.
to be
They
philosophically
just are.
virtuous? You just are. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think any of that could be possible. I do think that's going to wind up being a really big reveal. Like, I think we're going to find out something about Fury.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I
Because
agree.
as we mentioned, like sometimes plot points are just forgotten.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many plot points about Fury though, and there's so much groundwork that has been laid for her. I don't think she is a forgettable character.
I don't think she's forgettable, but it wouldn't surprise me if, for whatever reason, we do not get further answers.
Mhm. Yeah.
That scares me about Sarah J. I'm
Mhm.
constantly like, what are you going to just
Yes.
like leave off, and she only finished one series. That is something that I always try to keep in the back of my mind because people say like
But even that, because I think she said somewhere that like she would like to revisit Throne of Glass. I'm like, please don't. Just leave it.
I'm like, please, maybe not. Like,
leave it alone. Let it be.
Don't touch it.
Unless you're going to give us a chapter just in full description of what Lorcan did, then I will accept it.
Yeah. No, I'd be
Yes.
like a novella, a little baby thing going on.
Yeah, little baby Lorcan novella. I'm cool
Yeah.
with it.
But
Other than that, no.
No, I need to know how Dorian's doing because Homeboy was left on his own by the end of that.
Yeah, that's something I always think about. Dorian does not have a happy ending.
He does
Everyone's
not,
like,
and it
he's
is my
great.
beef.
I'm like, what? Like, he has to go back to a destroyed kingdom, figure out how to lead. His whole family's annihilated. His best friend is having a baby with Irene somewhere else. Like, and the person that I don't think him and Manon are actually in love. I think that they're codependent and just looking for affection anywhere from one another. She's going back to the Witch Kingdom. Like, it's like a sad ending for him. I'm like,
because I don't think
it's a sad ending.
I don't think Manon would ever settle down.
No, me either. I don't think it's in her nature. I don't think she can.
No, which is why I think that she didn't have them be together, because I think that it would have not given Manon the ending that she deserved.
But give Dorian someone, because he's been through a lot, especially at the very end-ish of the books where he like finally like is reunited with Kale and Irene, and like he has that little twinge of pain whenever he learns that she's a healer. And like his thing was just kind of like he dealt with it and he's like, I always wanted a sister. But I'm just like, I know that's gotta be hard to see your best friend end up with a girl that was essentially like one of your most crucial love interests. Like that's
the scene of him
tough.
crawling on the floor trying to put her head back up, like,
broke me.
That's disturbing. And that was one of those body horror scenes, right? Like, she always has these moments of body horror, and like that is like the blood on the tile, like, really, like, think about that. Like, it's disturbing. And like,
it is
poor guy. Give him a wife, like, please
just let him be happy.
I volunteer. I'll do it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and everyone
is there any theories?
She gives happily ever after. So I'm like, not to everybody, but
not to everybody. Some of them die. The 13, they gone, or are they?
Dude, also Abraxas.
I think they're gone. If they weren't, they didn't have a sacrifice, and that was like the point, right?
I heard. I think me and you might be saying the exact same thing.
I think we're gonna say that because I think we're gonna say the same thing. And let's
is
see
it the priestess thing?
Yeah, that and like
it's
they
a
were
portal?
supposed to go until the darkness claimed us, but they went into the light.
Yeah, and it's a portal.
It's a portal.
And that there are technically 12 priestesses, and Manon makes up the 13th person, but she's like, she didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
So each of the 12 priestesses is a member of 13.
I wouldn't hate it.
Also, there's a theory of like switching back to Feyre's mom. That Feyre's mom is one of the witches.
She's definitely a witch.
How as you as random human lady have 3 girls that end up in a cauldron and they all come out with powers.
And their bed is made of the same wood that
iron.
Right? And like the brooms wood iron, I don't know, something like that.
Yep.
And like the door had witch something or another. Like I do think that there was some witchy women. You know what I mean? Like there's something going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know if I would agree that they all 3 had powers, because like Feyre, she got hers from literally being given kernels from other High Lords. Nesta took hers. Elaine is the only one that's interesting. In this regard,
about her, she's like, what's going on with her?
No, but like Elaine didn't take anything, so whether or not like the cauldron truly gifted her the power of being a seer, or if she already had it, because also in book 1 we learned from Tamlin, whenever Feyre, like you said, has this hate for Fae, and Tamlin's like, did your mom not tell you about us? Plus, also in Silver Flames, I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, whenever Nesta is taking her first turn on the stairs and she falls, she grabs onto the wall, misses obviously, but as she's going back up, she sees claw marks on the stone that she created, which someone might be able to do if they had iron nails.
Yeah.
There is a lot that I think the moms in this series, every mom in each series has like something going on.
I also think there's something to be said about Nesta saying that she's a witch. You know how like there's always that question with, is it a lead where a lead's like, am I a witch? And Manon's like, do you think you are? You know, like there's something about identity and declaring oneself something, right? Like it's very powerful to say, I am, you know, that's, God says that, right? Like in the Bible, like when Moses confronts the burning bush, like, what are you? I am. He's just, he is the declaration. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of religion. I know I always pull up religion, but Sarah J. Maas, it plays around a lot with the Abrahamic religions in her books. And, you know, we have a lead saying, I am a witch. And then we have Nesta like, yeah, sure, I'm a witch. And I'm like, okay, then you're a witch. You know, like there's something to those kind of declarations. And like, you know, I think that it's kind of like, we think it's up in the air, but I think that saying one is something is a very powerful thing in every, you know, and that goes back to the, like, I have a lot to say about the mate bonds, but, you know, I am your mate. You know, like they always declare themselves as being something, and it winds up being true, you know?
Yeah. Although, I don't like this. I just love this because I know that there's also like the theory of people saying that like Cassian and Nesta aren't true mates. And the fact that you say that people typically say like I am your mate, Cassian in that moment just says, "Tell me like that you are what I have suspected since the moment we first met." He doesn't. I don't think, or maybe it like takes him a while, and then he's like very angrily, not in the correct way, is like, I think he does say, "I'm your mate." Never mind, I take that back. But he's still like,
I think she
it took him a while to get there, and he more of said it as like
She usually
an
comes back
angry
pretty quick.
argument, not so much a confession.
I think there's something wrong with the mates in ACOTAR, if I'm being honest.
Oh, I went on a
Really?
tangent on that.
Yeah, I do think there's something wrong with the mate bonds in ACOTAR. And like, first of all, anything that's going on with Rhysand, I think is kind of, because he has these mind control powers and he's so similar to Maeve, I don't trust it. They could be mates, and I actually think that they have a lot in common, so it's possible, right? Like, I actually think that they have very complementary personalities. Like, if they're mates, I'm not surprised. But because of how, when you see mind control in fantasy literature, it's never a good thing. Like, it's a trope for, it's honestly, it's an allegory for assault is what it is. And, being that he has these powers, I'm skeptical. And just his similarities with Maeve frighten me. But Cassian and Nesta, someone has to explain to me how they're equals. Because if we understand that the mate bonds in ACOTAR are also supposed to produce powerful offspring, they're not even physically compatible to do so, as per Feyre almost dying.
Nesta at the very end changed her anatomy.
Right, but
that's true. That's true.
And she did. So were they not mates before that? Because I thought that they solidified whatever was going on Solstice. And that was before that.
What do you mean?
Because, like, when like she hears like the strings or like their threads are being threaded together.
Yeah, the golden thread.
Yeah, that happens on like the evening of Solstice, and that is before she changes her anatomy at the end of the book. So
I think the anatomy though was only for like reproduction purposes, right?
But I thought
and the only reason that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at.
But the only reason that Feyre could do it is because she could change, give herself Illyrian wings, which then changed her body to have like Illyrian anatomy, which is why like they wouldn't let her use her powers to change into anything else because they were worried that it would hurt that. Right? Like,
but like Feyre at least has the capability of being like, they weren't able to produce offspring until she was in her Illyrian form. So, like, she was in that form. Actually, that's a really interesting theory. Is the Illyrian in Feyre his mate? Like, that's the kind of thing. I know that's a that's a one-off theory. It's wild to even think about. But like with Nesta and Cassian, unless the mate bonds are transcendent, which I'll be willing to play ball. Like, because if we understand that they last until death, like they're these soul bonds. Okay, then you're mates forever, and that includes before you even think about being a mate. You know what I mean? So like, I'd be willing to accept that, but she's Lady Death. She's the Queen of Death or whatever. Unless Cassian has something that we don't know yet, which I actually think is a possibility. Like, is he actually supposed to be the High Lord? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right? Like, is he
has to be more powerful
just the goofy,
if he's
strong
mated with her
guy?
Yeah, I mean, like the Queen of England
he has to be more powerful.
Right. Exactly. Like,
so
she's the queen. Like, let's be like the Queen of England marrying, like, one of the guys from the Jersey Shore, right? Like, he's a juice head. You know what I mean? Like, that's who her mate is. Like, it has to make more sense than that. So I think that there has to be something going on.
Part of me says yes, and then part of me disagrees, because the one thing that Nesta needed was someone who loves her just for her, right? Like, good and bad, right? Feyre loved her except for when she was acting the way she was acting, right? Like people judged her, and yes, again, she made mistakes. Like, I don't disagree with the mistakes that Nesta, right? Like, her actions, I think they were wrong, but at the same time, like, she was groomed as a child by her mom, right, to be this specific person, right? And then her dad like gave up on life essentially, so she was like, I don't tell you. Like, she just had so much hate in her heart that was like put into her from childhood. And I think that the universe, I guess, gave her something that she needed, right? So like just like the house coming alive. And everyone's like, that house has never done that.
Well, I
She
think
needed a friend. So she created that.
Yes.
Right? Like her powers inherently made the house come alive because that's what she needed. So like,
and because she's starborn.
That's
Madison thinks that she's starborn.
There's a lot of theory too to suggest.
That's where we're going with that.
No, and I get it. Do you think that she created her bond with with Cassian? She creates, right?
Right, like maybe that. Right, like that's her powers.
Because Amren does allude to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that would
not
be
that it's not real.
Right. Okay. And I think that maybe this is what I mean to say when I say there's something wrong. I think the bonds are created, and I don't know by what or whom. I don't. But like, let's say Nesta created the bond, then it was created. Lucian doesn't really meet Elaine till after the cauldron situation. And like, it's when she's changed it. He's like, oh my God, that's my mate. Right. Rhysand, their mate bond doesn't click
Nesta's
in until after she's changed. Like, there is a creative aspect here somewhere. Right. You know what I mean? Like, again, I don't think that would necessarily negate whether or not it's a real bond, but there's just something weird about them.
So I have a question for you then. I have a Crescent City question. Are Hunt and Bryce mates?
You don't think so? Do you think that she's mates with Azriel?
Let her
Say
answer.
negative ghostwriter.
Okay. So I
don't even think it's Azriel.
I don't
You don't think it's Azriel?
I don't know who, but it's not Hunt, and I don't think it's Azriel, because I know people are like saying, I don't know. I feel like from Crescent City 3 and like Silver Flames, because we're getting different points of views, I don't know. Everyone just seems so different from these
mystery
books.
character. Like,
remember, we didn't meet Aelin's mate till
maybe or no. Okay, I'm gonna say, because everyone said it was them, I'm gonna say that it was actually Connor. Because everyone was saying that they were like actually mates. It was just a matter of time. So, justice for my boy Connor.
I don't know if Bryce and Hunt are mates. I like them together. I would like to see a couple choose to stay together despite being whether or not they are or not mates, is what I'd like. So even if they weren't, I'd like for them to, you know what I mean?
I think Bryce is so loyal that even if the universe was like, you're not mates, you cannot be together, she would be like, get over it. This is what we are. This is who I want to be with.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I think that she is such a, like, this is my choice. This is my life. So it may come to that where in the books, it's like, you guys are not mates.
I think she even says that, because I think people like even question what they are. And I think that they said like, oh, well, we agreed, like we are each other's like chosen mate or something.
I think that there's something really powerful.
Like, I don't see her leaving Hunt. Yeah. Like the power of choice.
I've talked about this on my TikTok before. I'm actually not a big fan of fated mates. It's just not my favorite thing. And I think the problem that I have is I also don't believe in soulmates though. So like, and I'm happily married. It has nothing to do with that. I think that, I know everyone always laughs when I say that. I find power in choice. Like when two people choose to be together and it's not some arbitrary stars in the sky, the fates that have determined something, like it's free will, I think that's what's strong. Like, and what would happen if you had a mate who was awful? Like, that's a horror story,
right.
And I always think about just like inflection and the way that we listen to, when we're reading a book, like if we just change the inflection around, like when someone says like, you're my mate, we're going to be together forever. That sounds so sweet when you say the words nicely. But if you took those exact same words and said, you're my mate, we're together forever, it's all of a sudden a lot more insidious, right? Like there is something dark to like being bound and chained, and like even Cassian says shackled to somebody else, that's scary.
Yeah.
Well, and if you take Rhysand's parents
and Tamlin's,
weren't they were mates?
Yeah. And so were Tamlin's
and Rhysand's parents were not like super happily married, right? She just went with him because she was stuck in the Illyrian camp.
And it's just something else to point out that with the and like Feyre and Rhysand, I see problems in their relationship. I have not seen a good, happy mating bond in ACOTAR yet. And everyone says, what about Callius and Vivian? We're not really privy to what's going on in their relationship. And she does make a note that everything changed after Under the Mountain. What does that mean? Change for the good, change for the bad? How are we reading that sentence? And, just given
trauma bonding.
Right. Like, is it trauma bonding? Like, I don't, what makes somebody a mate, I don't know. Yeah. So again, I think that there's something going on, and we know the cauldron was poisoned. Like, there's just something weird going on with those bonds. I don't know.
I feel like I liked the idea of fated mates until I read Thorn of Glass, because then I was very conflicted whenever it came to Selena and Sam versus Aelin and Rowan. Because like even whenever they visited her or his grave, like Selena even says like, I think that maybe could have been my mate and I just didn't know it yet. And like she thinks that he would have been a great king. And I always see people make TikToks of saying like Kale loved Lillian, Sam loved Selena, Dorian loved, I can't remember which version of her. And then like saying like that Rowan loved her all. But I'm like, but in a hypothetical sense, like if Sam lived, like, and if they were truly happy and they had all those centuries together, then like why should she have to like end things with Sam because Rowan is her mate?
Have you ever read The Wolf King? Either of you? The Wolf King and the Night
but
Prince?
I can.
I've heard of it.
I just finished the second book, and the third book's coming out like next year. They're fantastic. They're so fun. But it asks that exact question. And it's heartbreaking because what if you're happy with somebody? Like, what happens? And that's the question in this book series. And it's making me so angry. I'm like, no. So, like, yeah, this has been my own personal crisis I've been having over here with the Wolf King. But, like, I think that's a really good question. If she was with Sam and she's happy, they escaped the Assassin's Guild or whatever together, and then she winds up meeting Rowan. What happens to Sam? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you throw away happy years and children potentially, because you found the one fate decided.
Then my question is, if fate is deciding, right? Fate decides who is meant to be together. Was fate ever going to let Sam live? Or was he always destined to die?
I think it would all play into the hands of the sleazy gods, because whenever we were reading Aelin's backstory of how she like drowned in the river and Erebin's the one that found her, and Elena was like, oh yeah, and I like he was the only person around, so I led him to you, and I was like, out of all the people in the world, you chose Erebin, and like this is the path that sent Selena. Like, the gods are so sleazy.
The gods are awful. I don't think that we've met the god yet. That's my theory too, is that there is a god. We have not met them yet. And I think whoever god is Amren's dad. That's my opinion.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. I would like information on this.
So I always feel bad because people are like, why do you always bring up religion? I'm technically a theologian. I don't teach anymore because I'm home with my kids, but so Amren is like an Old Testament angel, and she fell, right? Like through the ripple in the sky. By definition, she's a fallen angel. She's actually a demon, but no one wants to talk about that. And what are the Val? Well, they're demons. Casting that to the side though for a second, Amren's, if we understand, and I do think, and this is one of the reasons I actually think that ACOTAR takes place, like all of these, I think it takes place in our universe, but in other places. And I think that Amren's dad is God. Okay. I think that she was a fallen angel and her dad is the big God because she's, and if we understand that all the demons have to come from a deity, like, I do think that there's one God. And I think that all of these lesser gods, I think are just other powerful creatures in some way. Like that's just my opinion on that. Like, I don't think that we've met God yet. I think that he might not even be around. He might just be off doing other godly stuff, because the gods are just so weird, right? Like you said, they're sleazy. Like, out of all the people, you give a child to Arabin? Like, you're not benevolent, like, at the very least. And the gods are too emotional. Gods aren't supposed to have emotion like this. Like, gods just, stay on the course, right? And, I do have a lot of problems. Who was the Elena, she was a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. Like, just everything. Like you said, like, was Sam fated? Could he have ever lived? Well, they put Selena on this path, and like, it could have been Dorian, right? Like, they were just playing roulette with the air. Like, all right, who's next in line to fight the Valg? Like, just Elena. Wash my hands of that bitch. Like, I'm just not a fan.
She gone.
Absolutely not.
That's funny. Woo! That's wild. That is a lot to sink in. I hope you guys all had fun this week on our House of Theories and Lore, because I had a good time. I have like a lot going on in this brain right now. A lot to settle in. And Antoinette, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for
our
having
listeners,
me.
we will see you guys next week for our Crescent City deep dive. Yay. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Can't get enough of the Goodish Girls? Follow us on social media for sneak peeks at our upcoming episodes and bonus content.